Recording in progress.
City Council meeting for the City of Fairway, Kansas. It is Monday, November 14th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I have one announcement for the council. Just a reminder that the Council of Mayors is hosting a holiday social on Wednesday, December 7th, 5:30 p.m. at 1900 Building. You are all invited as my guests. Would love to have you and a guest there if you'd like to come. Nathan needs to know by noon on Friday. Right? Okay. Yes, noon on Friday. So that we can turn our count in for those of you who are attending. It's a way that the Council of Mayors says thank you to each of you for your service to the cities. We really do appreciate it, so hope you can come. Nathan, do you have any announcements? Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a proclamation that I would like to read into the record this evening. This proclamation is for Native American Heritage Month. Whereas the history and culture of our great nation have been significantly influenced by American Indians and indigenous peoples, and whereas the contributions of American Indians can.
We need this a little bit more ceremoniously, I guess. Thank you for your service. Mayor, if I may make a comment.
Certainly.
So on these certificates are put out by the League of Kansas Municipalities, and you can see the logo is on the certificate. For Tanya and David, your 8th year was technically last year, but with COVID, everything was kind of on hold. So you two are playing catch up this year on yours. And also for Dan and for Joe, this includes their previous time that they represented the city both as treasurer for Joe and planning commission for Dan. So those years of service are also recognized in here. And it's service levels for recognition for elected officials start at year 8 and then at year 10, and then they go on kind of an odd schedule. For employees, it's 10, 25, and 40 year recognitions. So if you look at that and you add September and October together and divide them by 2, they equal out what we've been averaging. So that gives you the explanation why. We're really not sure what occurred at the state level, but that was some of the city managers had contacted the league and got that information that October's days were shortened. So I just want to point that out. And then also, as we look to that December 12th meeting, we will be talking about what to do as far as end-of-year transfers. And so I've started to look at those preliminarily. We're in a very good position when it comes to revenue for 2022. If you look at the financial statements, the monthly statements that are always included in the packet, of the roughly 46 line items for revenue that we have, 19 of them have already exceeded what we budgeted for the entire year. So primarily those would be sales taxes have all come in high, and then we've surpassed on building permits. Of course, nearly all of the park and recreation budget revenue has come in well above what we budgeted. And then some smaller things like right-of-way permits, interest, that sort of stuff are also exceeding the current 12-month budget. So we will fortunately be in a position where we can consider some pretty significant transfers to our capital improvement fund. At that meeting in December, we'll also start to talk about some upcoming projects that are going to be on the horizon that are going to be very significant to the city, including stormwater. We'll have the street light study results coming up in the next couple of months. So there are things on the horizon, not to mention a potential recession in the cards for the future as well. So I think we'll just want to have some thoughtful discussion on how we want to handle these transfers at the end of the year as we look toward the future projects. With that, I am happy to answer any questions for finance.
Are there any? Okay, thank you, Nathan. The police department report, Chief?
Thanks. I'll let my report stand. Happy to answer any questions. I do have two things I'd like to mention. The first one is we are full staff now.
Hey.
Hopefully we maintain that. I think we will. With the addition of our new officer, Officer Gary Skimper, he's been in the Johnson County area for a number of years and opted to come to work for us. So we're very happy to have him. And the second thing I want to mention, because she's here, is Lieutenant Bayless, and I just wanted to, in front of the council, state what a great job she's doing as my second in command. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the chief?
Chief, I don't actually think this is a question for you, maybe for Nathan. In regards to the court summary back here, maybe it's a question for both of you. Sure. It seems like there's, how would I say that, more violations occurring, but then if you go down to, compared to last year, but then if you go down to the case dispositions this year versus last year, there's significantly less just cases in general. I mean, is the court backed up, or how should we read those numbers?
Since the pandemic, and this is not a Fairway specific problem, this is a broader problem when it comes to municipal court. There were a number of continuances that were issued repeatedly over the course of COVID, and I know that in some instances, we're having a hard time getting people to actually come back and show up for court. So that could have some effect on it. Otherwise, I'll let the chief answer with what he thinks might be contributing to this.
I think some of it is backlogs of COVID. I can't hear him on. I think, again, a lot of people are satisfying some of those things where we are citing for certain things, but some of those are fix-it tickets and things like that you'll see there. So they're handling some of that. You might note also just some of the violations are going down, but we are up in citations compared to last month or last year. And then also with arrests, we're doubling that. And some of those arrests, the type of arrests that we're making now are actually felony arrests, for bigger serious crimes that go through the county, and everything goes out through the county that way, and we're not seeing that in municipal court. Like any of the major drug offenses like heroin and methamphetamine, all those go out through the county. Any felony charge goes through the county, and I think a lot of the numbers that we're presenting now are felony charges, and we're sending a lot of cases through the county, so that does contribute to it as well.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
You all are clearly as busy as you've ever been.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Public Works, Bill?
I will also let my report stand as submitted. The thing I would like to highlight is we are very actively sweeping the streets on a consistent basis now. If you look at my report, our first official pass through the city during leaf collection season took about 9 days. Second pass took 15. So we went from fall to fell, and we're trying our best to catch up. Happy to answer any questions from.
Are there any? Nope. Okay, thank you. And Bryce, Parks and Rec?
Yep, I'll let my report stand as submitted. I would like to highlight that we're kind of in our special event season. Definitely October was our special event month with Fall Festival. I know Jennifer was had helped plan with that and was running around out there, so she's probably still sleeping that off right now. But they changed it to a one-day format, which was a lot nicer for them. So then we had our Touch-a-Truck and our driveway trick-or-treat as well. That all took place in October, about 2 weeks apart. So there's a lot of planning and a lot of hard work done with that. And those two events incorporate all 4 city departments. So Mandy was a Touch-a-Truck, having 1 million kids turn on their sirens for an hour and a half. We had Officer Betrago was leading the driveway trick-or-treat. And then we had Chris and Chuck at the driveway, and then we had Chuck and John and who was the other one? Rick, that was there at the Touch-a-Truck. So and Abby obviously helped out with both. So we had quite a lot of involvement with all 4 departments, which is I think is pretty rare. Any places I've ever been, it's only been the Park and Rec that does their Park and Rec. So it was pretty neat to have all 4 departments work together, but. All well attended. Seems like people want to get back out and do what we did, before COVID. So we're starting to plan the Santa right now, and Jackson and Vicki are hard at work doing that.
Great. Any questions for Bryce? Okay, thank you. Monthly reports of the special committees, tree board. Pardon, Bill, what?
No report.
Okay, thank you.
I know they have one scheduled. I think it's in the next week or 2.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll open the meeting for public comment for consent agenda items only. I will read those into the record. A, approve minutes of the previous regular city council meeting. B, approve claims and appropriations. Ordinance number 1774, October 2022. C, approve agreement with Trek for a geographical survey of Peterson Park. D, approve renewal of information technology services agreement with Johnson County, Kansas for 2023 services. And E, approve agreement with KC, is that Gunite? Gunite, okay, for work to be performed at the swimming pool, including liner removal and painting. Is there any public comment on any of those items? Anyone wish to speak? All right, hearing none, I'll close that. These items are determined to be routine enough to be acted on in a single motion. However, this does not preclude discussion. If a council member requests, an item may be removed from the consent agenda for further consideration in separate motion. Is there anyone on the council that wishes to remove an item for additional consideration?
I don't wish to remove it if not necessary, but I would have some questions on the pool bid
Okay.
that we have.
Okay, Go ahead and
All right,
ask.
asking those?
no.
So you mentioned in your summary that you did receive a couple of bids,
Yep.
but this was the one that you felt comfortable with. I mean, were the other bids in that same sort of cost range?
Yeah, they were, but some services were missing. So another one was closer to 200,000, but that didn't include the caulking replacement inside the actual pool. Others simply wanted to put another liner on top of our current liner, which I would not advise us to do. So they were all relatively within the same range. This kind of matched up with the best price with the best company that I think could actually do the work in the history as well.
Okay, and I think you mentioned in there that about every 5 years you expect to need
Paint
it
it.
repainted. Is there any significant milestone cost in between years 0 and 5?
There shouldn't, unless there would be, if we had to repaint the racing lines a little earlier, just because they faded more, they'd be the black instead of the white. Will get a little bit yellow, but other than that, there should be just concrete repair if we were to have any issues there.
And last one, the warranty of 1 year from completion. Was that pretty standard from the other bids also?
Yes, and so far that I've seen with paint especially, and in the corrosive environment that it's in with a pool and the sunlight, UV rays breaking it down, that 1 year is about the best we're going to get for any type of application of paint. So, and if there was any other warranties that the paint suppliers would put towards the paint that was going on our pool, then the Casey Gunite would transfer that to our ownership to extend the warranty if there was any, but I'm anticipating it being a 1 year right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just so you all know, those in the audience, and Dan, this was thoroughly vetted by the Parks and Rec Committee, and all of this information was presented to them at their quarterly meeting. All of that information was reviewed. Okay? Just wanted you to know. Is your mic on?
Now it is. I had a curiosity in reading the contract. There's like one base layer and then one layer on top. I would have thought there would have been more layers of paint to go for 4 or 5 years, but I assume that's standard?
Yeah, so there was another company that wanted to put 3 layers down, but their first layer was a little thinner than Casey Gunite's first layer. So their first layer next to their second layer is about the same as the amount of the 3 layers that it would have gone with the other construction company. That it's just 2 types of paint. Tanemic and Olympic are the 2 mainstays for those, but yeah, they're not too far apart, even though they have different applications with the layers.
Okay. Do I hear a motion on the consent agenda items?
Mayor, I'd move that we approve the consent agenda items as prepared.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve consent agenda items A through E. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All of them pass unanimously. Moving on to new business. Item A, consider amendment to current agreement with Burns and McDonnell for the addition of the 2023 CIP project design. Bill?
Thanks, Mayor. This is an extension of our current professional service agreement that we have currently in place with Burns & McDonnell for design of next year's CIP. It made a lot of sense to get a bid from Burns & Mac for next year's project, since 2 of our streets are held over from this year's, and they've already done the design work on that. Next year's project also includes a full set of plans for our CARS project, which is 53rd Street, which is the next item on the agenda. So all of that included more work, more time, and the price was $2,000 more than this year's design. So seemed really reasonable pricing-wise, and we can jump right into this. My goal is to hopefully have a bid open and before you in February and us starting project in April, so hopefully we can get better prices than we got this year.
Let's hope so.
I think we were really hampered by waiting for Water One to clear our streets to bid the project. I've been in contact with them. They do want to do some of this work on some of the streets, and they know they have to be cleared by March.
Questions or discussion by council? All right, I'll open this item for public comment. Anyone wish to comment on this item? All right, we'll close public comment. I'll ask for a motion on this item A.
Mayor, I move that we approve the amendment to our current agreement with Burns & McDonnell for the addition of the 2023 CIP project design.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the amendment to the current agreement with Burns & McDonnell for the addition of the 2023 CIP project design. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Passes unanimously.
I'll abstain on that vote.
All right, 1 abstention. Item B, consider interlocal agreement for 2023 CARS project on 53rd Street. Bill, this one is yours also.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. This is our, the county standard interlocal agreement between us, Roland Park, and the county for reimbursement up to 50%, but the funding with as many cities as they've asked for funding, I think will not be in place until maybe you can walk and get some Christmas ice cream, because I hear it's a pretty going commodity.
So the 53rd Street is more and more busloads of kids are coming to the Mission, which is wonderful, and it's hard to get them across that street safely. So that's the reason that that's being in place and at the request of the foundation.
County will be happy to pay, well, not happy, but they'll pay for part of it.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll open this for public comment. Anyone wish to comment on this item? All right, seeing no one wanting to comment, I will ask for a motion.
I move to approve agenda item B, interlocal agreement for 2023 CARS project on 53rd Street.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that this interlocal agreement be approved. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It passes unanimously. Item C, consider site plan and deviation request for new signage, 2712 West 53rd Street, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Dan Motouche. Is that pronounced correctly? You think? Okay. Of Infinity Sign Systems on behalf of Stretch Lab, tenant, and First Washington Real Estate property owner. Nathan?
Yeah, I can very limitedly speak to this. So Stretch Lab is getting ready to have their grand opening this Friday. It's their ribbon cutting ceremony this Friday. They've been open for a while. But they have requested a number of signs, the typical black sign above the store, like you see on the rest of the shops. They requested one for the window, and then they also requested one that would be perpendicular with the building as well, so it would come out. The Planning Commission did deny the third one, or is recommending denial of the third one, and so the Planning Commission is recommending approval of the first two, the standard sign above the store as well as the sign on the window, as well as what Planning Commission is recommending you all approve tonight.
All right, any questions or discussion from council? All right, I'll open it for public comment. Anyone wish to discuss this with us this evening? If you'll please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Scott Houston with Infinity Sign, 4900 Worcester Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64130. Sorry. My name is Scott Houston. I'm with Infinity Sign, 4900 Lister Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64130.
Thank you.
And I'm just here if you all have any questions. I was here for the Planning Commission meeting, and they did deny the blade sign, which is correct, which is not needed. It's just what they requested, so I completely agreed with the Planning Commission, and I'm here to happy to answer any of your all questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions
I think
of
you
Infinity Sign? Go
I
ahead,
think you answered
David.
when you said the blade, it comes out from the wall this way, that we say, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. All right, just trying to visualize that one, thank you.
Thanks for coming. I think we're good to go. All right, I'll close public comment and ask for a motion.
It's a little confusing. Are we adopting the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve the two compliant signs and deny the blade sign?
Correct.
I move that we approve the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve the two conforming signs and deny the third non-conforming blade sign.
Second.
And that is for Stretch Lab?
Stretch Lab at 2712 West 53rd Street.
Yes. All right, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no? Passes unanimously. Item D, consider permit extension for building permit 21-000095 for new home located at 5600 Neosho, Fairway, Kansas. Nathan?
Sure, this is pretty straightforward as the code requires. This building permit has already been extended once by staff, and that is all the code allows. So the next and final extension comes from the governing body if you should choose to provide such extension. And as you can see here, we have a timeline that's laid out by Basel. Staff is recommending approval of this extension, and you can see the reasons why laid out in this report. Just to be clear, the renewal fee is half the original permit fee, so this renewal would be $6,418, and that permit would be good for an additional 6 months.
Thank you. Any questions of Nathan?
This will take them out to 2 years total or a year and a half total?
2 years total,
2
because
years
we,
total.
staff already administratively
That's what I
gave them
thought,
6
yeah.
months.
And did they have a delay getting started? I know it said there was a lot of site work that was required.
There was a lot of site work that's required. It's a very big project.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I'll open this item for public comment. If anyone would like to address the council. Hearing none, I'll close this portion of public comment and ask for a motion from council.
Mayor, I ask that we approve item D to extend the permit for building permit 21-000095 for new home located at 5600 Neosho Fairway, Kansas.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the permit extension requested. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. That closes new business. Next on the agenda is the governing body comment section. During this time, members of the governing body will be given the opportunity to speak about matters related to the city. No formal action will be taken during this time. Does anyone wish to speak?
Chief, I'm not asking you to comment on it right now, but I would assume you've seen this thread on nextdoor.com about traffic on Mission Road. Maybe you haven't. It's only been like 24 hours, but it's kind of taken a life upon itself, and now it started with Fairway, and now it's kind of massing cities together. So you may want to just read it, because I think there'll be some comments coming up on it.
May I ask what it's about?
Very specifically, it started with a complaint about speeding on Mission Road around the pool, and has kind of ballooned
Beyond that. Okay.
And I commented back and provided the traffic calming study link for anyone who was wanting to
Apply.
take a further step.
Okay.
Just comment on that. I know that, one, thank you for forwarding the traffic calming policy. But I think I want to make sure everyone understands that as you are out there fielding questions, our policy really, when you look at the sort of engineered fixes to traffic calming, are limited to residential streets. So when you look at things like Mission Road or 53rd Street, or even, Reinhardt, those are considered arterials and collectors. So our policy does not permit for engineered devices to be put on those streets to slow traffic, simply because we do not want to be diverting traffic from those roads and onto the residential streets. So those streets have been designed and built to handle more cars, and so if there is a speed problem on arterials and collector streets, that would be a matter that we would refer to the PD to address. But as a traffic calming policy, if someone were to come forward and request traffic calming, physical engineered things on Mission Road, that is by the policy, that would be a non-starter for Mission Road. So I just want to put that out there. Certainly, staff can answer any questions, but again, if there are residents out there who have concerns about speeding or public safety in general, they are certainly encouraged to reach out to Chief Thurlow or Lieutenant Bayless with those concerns.
Thank you, Nathan. David?
Yeah, Bill, I mentioned this to you earlier. I did want to thank Public Works and McNanny for getting the mill and overlay project done. just in time for Halloween. So it was a nice, smooth street for all of the families to walk on instead of the rough gravel, and I was getting concerned that we were going to have some stumbles and trips, which would have ruined some little kids' Halloween. But everyone was very happy and had a great time. So thank you. Please can pass it on to McEnany. The neighbors were very happy to see that get done.
Will do. I promise our goal wasn't to mill the street and then the temperature to drop to 32 degrees for the next week and a half. But that was what we got, but they were on top of it as soon, and they were not perfect scenarios when the day started, but, cooler heads prevailed and rational decisions were made, and we paved a few degrees cooler than it needed to be, but just to get it done.
Anyone else have comments? Okay. We'll move on to public comment for items not listed on the agenda. Anyone wish to come forward? Okay, we'll close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Mayor, I move that we hang on for a little bit. This is the fastest meeting in the history of the Fairway City Council, at least since I've been on it.
Well,
But unless everyone else wants to go home, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Hey, Dan.
Record.